If you wanted to weaken a generation of young men, where would you start? What would you target to make them less motivated, less resilient, and less fulfilled? Well, gentlemen, in today's episode of The Rebuilt Man, we're going to answer this question. It is my goal to shed some light on the destructive power of pornography in our culture. Guys, it's no secret. You can look across the internet. You can look around our society today. We are facing a crisis of masculinity. Young men are confused. They're lost. They're isolated. They're alone. And it is my belief that pornography is sitting at the root of the vast majority of the problems that men are facing today. So my goal in this episode is discuss these impacts, talk about these 6 ways in which pornography is being weaponized to weaken the men of our culture, but what we can do to not just take back control of our own lives, but step in the life that God has called each and every single one of us to be. We're talking about making men again. We're talking about empowering young men to build strength, to build resiliency, to have drive, to have passion, to have purpose, to have inspiration in this world. Because a world without motivated, driven, capable young men is not a world that I want to be a part of anymore. But it is on us. It is our responsibility once we've recognized that this is the problem. Before we dive too deep into this, guys, let me take a minute and remind you who we are and what it is we do. My name is Coach Frank Rich, founder of Rebuilt Recovery and host of the Rebuilt Man podcast. It is our mission here today to help men become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their lives. And if you're looking for a place to congregate, to get the support, to get the tools and resources needed to win back control of your life, join us in our brand new free school community. You can visit school, skool.com/the Rebuilt Man, and get access to hundreds of men all across the globe aiming to become better men. Guys, but there's 6 ways. There's 6 ways that pornography is weakening our society. It's 6 ways that pornography is weakening the men of our culture. Number 1 is the reduction of motivation and drive. It's no secret that porn hijacks the brain's reward system by offering instant gratification. This replaces the drive to go out there and the need to go out there and pursue real world goals. If we get all the hits of dopamine that we need at just a push of a button, there's no need to set goals, to make plans, to work daily towards becoming the man that we know we can be. I talk with men every single day, young men that are in the prime of their youth, the prime of their life, should be full of testosterone and passion and purpose, but these men are lost. They're lost because at a young age, they got introduced to something that was hijacking their drive. How many of you right now know that pornography is a problem and you think that there's something out here for you to accomplish? You can taste the goals in your mouth, but when it comes to putting in the work, you just don't have the motivation. Guys, we need to realize that pornography is numbing our drive and start working towards reclaiming it back. And this starts with having a clear vision, but it is followed by taking small incremental action every single day. So it's reducing our motivation and drive, but it's secondly undermining our relationships in the family structure. Guys, porn distorts a man's perception of relationships, reduces his capacity for intimacy, reduces his capacity for connection and intimacy. Think about the damage that this can do to a future family structure. Think about the damage that a man without empathy, a man with a flawed perception of connection and intimacy, what happens when he brings that into his marriage? What does that do to how he raises his children? Guys, a meaningful life includes the ability to form real life connections. When we spend our days seeking intimacy through visual stimulation and pornography, we lose the capacity and ability to create real meaningful connections in our real life. So porn is stealing our motivation. It's undermining our relationships. Pornography leads to escapism, isolation, in addiction. We know that addiction feeds itself in isolation. It feeds itself in loneliness. But here's the problem is once you go down that path, now you're caught up in the perpetual cycle. Porn becomes an easy escape route from real life struggles. I know because I used it to cope with stress, to cope with emotions for over 20 years. But when this is how you're wiring yourself and this is how you're living your life out, then when that habit escalates, you need to rely on it more and more and more. Guys, the step here is to rebuild your life, is to confront the real world. Stop running to pornography as a crutch. Stop running to it as an escape outlet. Begin to face your daily challenges as opportunities for growth. The next thing pornography is doing is we know that it hinders a man's self-confidence, his esteem, and his mental health. When you're caught up in this cycle that you know is destructive to you, yet you return back to it every single day, your confidence, your love for yourself begins to decrease. We know pornography leads to an increased anxiety, depression, the lowering of self-esteem due to the constant comparisons and the unrealistic standards and expectations set by pornography. But here's the problem is when these inadequacy feelings arise, we turn back into this shame cycle, driving us further and further and further into isolation, escapism, and addiction. Your real strength is going to come from the sense of self-worth that you gain, not through digital gratification, but by facing real world challenges and achievements on a daily basis. In addition to the destruction of our confidence and self-esteem, we know that pornography use weakens discipline and self-control. This habit of seeking instant gratification erodes self-discipline. It makes it hard for us men to stay focused on anything that requires a delayed outcome. We're talking about fitness. We're talking about career growth. We're talking about personal development. Those things require delayed gratification. You got to put in the work before you get the reward. But pornography trains us that we can just at the hit of a button get all the pleasure and reward that we feel we need. Now what happens is that pattern of behavior spills over into all the areas of our lives. That's why we struggle with discipline. We struggle with self-control. We struggle with willpower. Now, breaking free isn't just about more discipline, but the importance of discipline and long-term thinking are core elements of reclaiming back control of your life. So once again, we got to set a big vision for this life that we can't live, but then begin to work towards it every single day. We've talked about the reduction in motivation, how it hijacks our drive, how it undermines our relationships and family structures, how it encourages isolation and escapism, leading to addiction. Pornography decreases our self-worth, our self-esteem, and our mental health, and it weakens our discipline and self-control. Now, we also know that has a clear negative impact on our physical health and fitness. Prolonged porn use can lead to things such as lower testosterone, decrease in energy, and even performance issues, which once again will lead to an overall decline in your health. Now, when we're not as strong as we can physically be, and we're not as strong as we can mentally be, now our self-worth and self-value is even lower. And once again, this creates that perpetual cycle. Well, if I'm not good enough to do the things that I know that I should do for myself, then what's a little bit of pornography going to harm me? So you see how all these things intertwine and interconnect with themselves? It creates the cycle. Guys, as a man, physical strength, vitality, energy are all foundational and fundamental for a man's ability to lead, achieve, and withstand challenges. So I'm going to be real with you right now. If you're struggling with pornography and you're weak, fat, and out of shape, focus on building your body first. And through the character development, through the discipline, delayed gratification that is found in a physical transformation, you can use that to reclaim back control of your life from pornography. Guys, I don't think any of this was new to you today. I'm sure you're all very aware and familiar with how pornography is weakening you. It's weakening an entire generation of men, but here's the truth. You no longer have to be a part of this weakened generation. You can reclaim your strength, your drive, your relationships. The first step is to join our school community, guys. School.com, SKOOL.com/the rebuilt man. We're going to give you community. We're going to give you support. We're going to give you accountability. We're going to give you the tools and strategies needed to not just quit porn, but to become the man that you were called to be. Guys, remember, quitting porn, rebuilding your life starts with a choice. Choose to step up today. Quit this easy, instant gratification seeking path and become the man that you're called and created to be. Coach Frank Rich at the Rebuilt Man. We love you guys. See you in the next one.